You know, I go to an awful lot of bike shows. You see a lot of motorcycles, and that's what I do. But every now and then you see one that just goes that little bit extra, you know? And that's what always makes it interesting to me, because motorcycles are like watches. They wear their mechanicals on the outside. You know, when you open the hood of a car back in the 1930s, there was a lot of chrome and brass, and it was very impressive. And then they realized, we don't need to do all that. We got the engine all covered up. Whereas motorcycles, it's sort of an exoskeleton. So the outside has to be as pretty as the inside. And when you combine that with craftsmanship and engineering, you get a bike that looks like this. You know, this is a kind of motorcycle, when you first see it, you go, that's interesting. And then you look at all the little details, the handmade radiator, a lot of the other pieces, and you realize, oh, this is quite a bit different from the other bikes here. But it's all detail, and that's what I like about this bike. It just has a lot of little details. This whole assembly here, you know, the aluminum polished tank, well, the chassis, you know, this sort of classic front brake, which sort of harkens back to the type of brakes racing motorcycles had in the late 50s and early 60s. It's not as good as a disc, but it looks pretty cool. I mean, everybody customizes Harleys and Honda 750s, but BMWs, people tend to keep them stock, so if you're going to modify it, it better be pretty good, because the BMW people, they'll come after you. This is a well-engineered bike that does what it's supposed to do.
Well said, Jay. But just how do you get a one-of-a-kind bike to do what it's supposed to? It's a long, hard road when you're a custom bike builder. Just ask the Romestants. This dynamic duo can tell you all about it.
I'm telling you, Larry, that hot glue gun just
isn't working, huh?
Yeah, it's not doing the job.
And when the going gets tough, having the right friends certainly doesn't hurt. These builds are never easy.
Stop the camera, please.
But that's what makes the results so special. Welcome to the world of Romestant's Special Ks.
Now the world was truly ready for peace. Certainly the veteran of that war hoped he had brought about a world that would be free of war forever after.
In 1919, as World War I came to an end, a fledgling BMW, who had been primarily manufacturing aircraft engines for the war effort, suddenly found itself without demand for their product. In addition, the Commissioner of Demobilization over Bavaria had ordered the closing of its Munich plant, and the future of BMW looked all but finished. With permission to reopen the plant later that year, BMW began to reinvent itself. As Germany was forbidden by the Allies from manufacturing any aircraft or aircraft engines, BMW turned its attention to new possibilities. In 1924, BMW produced its first motorcycle, the legendary R32. With its 500cc air-cooled boxer engine and shaft-driven rear wheel, the R32 was a major innovation and became the basis for all future boxer-powered BMWs. By 1938, in response to pressure from the German army, BMW produced the R75, a 750cc version of the R71, which ultimately became the star of Nazi World War II campaigns, especially in the harsh conditions of North Africa. The U.S. Army would eventually request that Harley-Davidson develop a similar shaft-driven bike for American troops, the nearly identical XA.
Training motorcycle dispatch riders for the U.S. Army, one of the toughest, most grueling courses in the service. After 6 weeks of basic instruction, they send them on cross-country trips like this. A terrific test for men and machines. They take the bumps in high gear. Now they're real veterans of the saddle.
As the war neared its conclusion, BMW's Munich factory was heavily bombed and ultimately completely destroyed. By the end of the 40s, BMW was once again able to return to motorcycle manufacturing and also began to make inroads into the automobile market. But as the 1970s drew to a close, so did any further development of the groundbreaking twin-boxer engine that had served BMW so well. And in 1982, the K100, aka the Flying Brick, burst onto the scene. It was this very bike that would eventually draw the attention and admiration of Larry Romestant. Building upon decades of design innovation, the Romestant Special K series of retro modern modified BMW K bikes was born.
I first became interested in bikes when I saw the kids in the neighborhood riding their mini bikes all over the place. So I just started trying to figure out how to make one for myself. My dad had a couple of lawnmowers, and I took a Briggs & Stratton and tried to put it in a bicycle frame and make my own bike. You know, that's the first thing I did. It's kind of like what they did in the turn of the century, you know, what I did with the Briggs & Stratton.
When you think of custom bike builders, Larry and Carol Romestant may not be the first vision that comes to mind.
Tea time.
It's tea, not tats, that fuels their creativity. And the bikes speak for themselves.
Well, we're Romestant Engineering and Design,
That's right.
and this line of motorcycles that we're developing is a series called the Special K series.
Right.
And
We'll eventually do whatever. We do a Harley series. We'll do
right, we're open to
Honda
doing
series,
we're
yeah.
open to doing other projects.
Sure.
But this is what we've been focusing on up to now. And you know, until you run out of ideas for
Yeah.
Special Ks, which
Yeah.
I don't think can
Or
happen.
I drop over.
We've got some individual products now
Yeah.
that we have available. So I think our line is developing really, really nicely, and we're getting orders for headlights. We're getting inquiries about frames. We're getting inquiries about brake mechanisms.
Yeah.
You know, individual parts of the bike, which you know, we're ready for too. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
We're just gearing up for the future. It feels good, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. This is our life. Welcome to it.
Yeah.
I built this bike for Thomas Bloch, the late Thomas Bloch. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. But he originally wanted a K75 calf racer, and it's kind of evolved.
The Beast is one of Larry's first mods, and compared to this stock K bike, it's a whole other monster. And even up at the infamous Rock Store, it attracts more than its fair share of unique reactions.
It's not your daddy's K bike. It's not your daddy's K bike anymore, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. It's something like a special super bike.
The Cafe Racer craze was just getting started, and I wasn't. I figured we could do something, but I just wanted to do something really off the hook. You know, got to make a splash. So this is what we ended up with. You know, it didn't start out with a 4-into-2 exhaust. It didn't start out with custom intake. I don't even think it started out with chrome wheels, but yeah, it evolved. And so, but the important thing was it had to be low and had to sound good?
Basically, I've been involved with motorcycles since I was in college. And I used it mainly for transportation then, but my love turned into more of a work of art. That's how I see them. And I always had BMWs in my life. I have still an R69, 1959. That it took a year to restore. And, when I saw Larry's bike, the white bike, I said, you know, I can see his craftsmanship and devotion. Exhaust, you got a replica Conti, which is an Italian exhaust. So you have twin exhausts between the velocity stacks and the Conti exhaust. We get 10 more horsepower. The engine puts out 130. It's a real beauty. Having this next to my 1959 together is like I'm fulfilled. You know, it's like from one end to the other, and they complement each other so much. I give Larry Romestant a lot of credit. He has done an excellent job. He's a very detailed engineer, bike builder, and I'm glad we made a good team.
And this gave me the opportunity to go to the wild side, because he'd get on this and he would let it out. There has never been a Cafe Racer K-bike. What I think I'm going to end up with is probably going to be over the top compared to what Evan really would expect, because I don't think I can just do a simple build.
Orange, California is home to Irv Seaver Motorcycles and owner Evan Bell's extensive collection of classic BMW bikes. It's the only motorcycle dealership to boast 100 years of continuous operation, and Evan has commissioned Larry to build a Special K to commemorate this landmark anniversary.
This motorcycle store was started in the Plaza of Orange in 1911 by a man named Judd Carricker. It started out originally as a Pope motorcycle dealer, which most people haven't even heard of a Pope motorcycle, but shortly became an Indian dealership, which people of course have heard of. It became the Indian Racing Center for the West Coast, and in 1953 he sold out to Irv Seaver, and Irv was an Indian motorcycle fan from Massachusetts, and unfortunately he bought an Indian dealership that Indian shortly announced they were folding up their teepee and going away. As time went along, it took on other lines of motorcycles as the Japanese came in, and became number 11 Suzuki dealer in the United States. I went to work for Irv in 1959 as a mechanic, and then into parts and the parts manager, and then general manager of the store. And Irv wanted out of the business, and I bought him out in 1979, and so I'm the third owner since 1911 of this store.
Evan has always been impressed with Larry's work, but the calf will take things to a whole new level.
And if we can do inside in the wheel spokes, great. Otherwise, we'll have to use a later model outside the rim spokes. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, it's not going to be a simple twist on a K-bike into a calf, so it's just the way it is.
Well, my name's James Maund, and I'm a secret agent licensed to kill. I make aluminum parts for motorcycles. 99% of what I make is for motorcycles. I make for vintage motorcycles, mainly British, European. It's all made right here.
Larry and Carol head to Pasadena with the beginning designs for the calf revolving around the levers, kind of like building a kitchen around the faucet.
The lever I'm planning to use is very similar to the lever on the 1923 R32, the very first BMW. It has the same very similar levers. So there's a look back pretty far.
Hi, James.
Hi there.
Hey James, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Wow.
Yeah,
There they are.
There they are.
This is the levers.
Wow.
There we go, that's the traditional style one, which is basically a 1930s type of inverted lever.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
It's very nice and clean and simple.
Oh yeah, but it's really precise. It's smooth, elegant, got real close tolerancing, so it's not going to move much.
It's got a different one.
I have a different one here,
that one.
which is not as elegant, but very similar. It's very similar to that one with the finned.
This could be great on like a grunge rocker or something like that.
Yeah, maybe the Street Fighter.
This is what I want for the cafe. We're going to go with this.
Okay, that sounds good choice. You've got good taste.
How soon can we get that?
You can have them today.
Oh, really? Oh, that'd be great.
Very cool.
Everything on my site's in stock.
Great.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great.
A veteran mold and tool and die maker, James blends art and engineering at the highest level.
Okay, this is a new pattern here, which I've in the process of constructing. This is artwork and engineering at its finest. It's going to produce a part like this, which here is a test casting, as you can see, of what we're going to have 3 at a time. And this part is going to fit on the Hinckley Triumph Twins, Thruxton, and the Scrambler, and the Bonneville, and it will fit straight onto the existing fender, and it will allow a retro style Lucas type light, a round light, giving the customer full choice for some individuality. Hi, this is one of the parts I make for these, Larry, and this is a finned exhaust clamp, which replicates the old Triumph finned exhaust clamps, which is all that held the header pipes on at one time.
Yep.
And it stops your pipes going blue.
Yeah.
If you put that one early enough. Obviously I put mine on a bit too late, but
wrap it up.
I probably won't use standard levers ever again. It's the whole idea behind the calf build. It's taking a K-bike and making it look like it belonged in the 60s or 70s.
The challenge to build the calf has begun, and sourcing just the right parts to combine vintage looks with modern performance will be tough to do. Thanks to Evan Bell's treasure trove of bits and pieces, Larry's chances for success just improved.
Most people don't know what they have when they have one of these. This is the final drive. It's a disc final drive. If we end up doing a disc final drive, then more likely we're going to do double disc front brakes. The axle diameter is too small to be safe for a bike with that kind of displacement and weight. So we want to go with like a /6 wheel. That's the rear hub we need. Yeah, so now that would work if we went with the dual disc.
He kind of said it was junk, so I never pursued looking at it before, and that happened to him. Yeah.
Most I can do is pull it apart and take a look at it.
Yeah.
And assess it. You know, we might be able to use it, and we might not. But this is a brand new motor, so it's factory fresh. Get it all out of here. It would be very interesting to be able to go back in time with that motor and then give it to, somebody in Italy to build, Agostini or somebody like that, or Magni, and say, here, build a bike around this. Wonder what it would look like. This is a motor that was built by Luftmeister. It's been built up. It has some hot cams. It was done with carburation, but unfortunately was involved in a fire. So I don't know if the carburetors are usable. I'll probably end up going back to fuel injection regardless. But the engine supposedly has a 5-angle valve grind on the head, which is phenomenal, which is really important for this motor. Camshafts that are modified, so that's one thing. And then we've got some wheels, different versions. These are the C wheels, like on that gray bike you saw. These are a possibility for the build. And then there's also a GS wheel. So these are just pieces. There's going to be a lot more added to this as far as different styles and different types. It's kind of like, you got to get started somewhere. You have to have a way to start putting it together and then start formulating ideas how you want it to work.
Larry's in the aerospace industry, and there's a certain level of technical expertise you have to have there, because when a car breaks down, you pull off the side of the road. When an airplane breaks down, the penalty for error is quite a bit higher.
It's a retro in the sense that it has elements from bikes of the past, but then also in the modern sense having modern brakes, fuel injection.
The build begins with extensive modifications to the frame and swing arm so that Larry can use a 6-speed gearbox. He creates a custom jig, allowing him to position the swing arm pivots in the correct location and fabricate the new frame members. Alignment of these components is critical, and there's no roadmap as this is a first. Using the stock tank base means it will match the frame perfectly, and the shell will be handmade in Scotland, along with the tailpiece. The heavy stock loop is replaced with the more elegant loop from an R90/6.
Off to Scotland.
The tins are off to the infamous John Williams in Dumfries, and Larry and Carol are able to join him there in person, settling the details for the tank and tailpiece and locking in a timeline.
And as far as the exhaust goes, I wanted those hand-formed versus buying something off the shelf. They had to be seamless and they had to be very unique, and there's one guy that I know of that does it.
And that guy is Larry Swan in England. Getting a first-hand look at what he has in mind for the calf is the icing on the cake for this trip. Back home in the States, the modifications continue. The gearbox and swing arm changes now mean that Larry must modify the drive shaft. With critical tolerances, it must be precise.
His workmanship is just incredible. And I wanted to have something, something from England, because this is supposed to be a calf racer. I can baffle this any way I want to. I can adjust back pressure.
From the custom header routing to the Thruxton-styled shock mounts, the detail work is incredible.
But now that I put on this short wheelbase and shorten the whole system up, it's going to have a very conventional length tail section, seat section, and a small seat.
The front brake from a Suzuki Water Buffalo is grafted into a standard K75 front end with a custom-designed cable-to-hydraulic transfer system for real stopping power. The footplates will be custom-placed for Evan for a perfect fit. And because of all the critical mods, Dr. John will verify the frame for straightness.
And if it needs any tweaking, it can be heated and it can be slightly tweaked.
Now it's down onto 2 wheels for the first time and ready for a little road trip.
Long way to go.
Time to see the doctor.
Basically, what we want to do is we want to get the bike perfect. I mean, we figure if we can get it close, we can get it right. And so that's what we do. We start at the steering head and we work to the rear tire until they're perfect.
Dr. John has created a proprietary system for straightening even the worst of frames, ensuring perfect tracking front to rear.
What we're going to do basically is I'm going to tie this all down, and then I'm going to readjust everything. This thing might just come out perfect.
His process is so top secret, we aren't allowed to watch.
Everything came out really good. Once we were able to get the bolts in it properly, what I did is I lifted up and pulled the tension off of it and tightened everything up. It came out perfect. It tightened up real nice. We then went back and forth through it, and you're ready to go.
Great,
All right.
great. This is my favorite on-grab. Why? It's because they're great. It's got a great decreasing radius turn in it. A lot of fun with it.
With most of the dirty work out of the way, it's time to think about the chrome and polish. So it's off to see Ramos.
We are in North Hollywood at V&C polishing to get some chrome work done for the calf racer. Yeah, Carol got these for me as my Father's Day present. She ordered them from England. And other than the fact there's a little bit of vegetable grease oil on them now from picking up a sandwich, which is a stupid thing to do. There they are. They're great. They're the real deal. Now I've got to figure out a way to make them look nice again. Or maybe get another set, another pair, and not tell her and replace it.
My name is Jose Ramos. Everybody call me Ramos. Jose Ramos. I'm a 50-year-old man.
As Ramos likes to say, this is a hard job, but somebody has to do it. And he's been at it for close to 40 years.
Jesse James building this bike, especially that they showing all across America. And then this man bought that bike from Jesse James. I enjoy it. I got tired over the years of it, but see,
Yeah.
at the end of it, I think I feel satisfied with what I had done.
see the finish. You can see how fine that finish is, how smooth it is. There's no witness mark, there's no pitting. Yeah, it's ready to go to copper then, huh? It's nice.
As with Larry, Ramos treats his work like art, and it shows in the finished product. It's a perfect job. These pieces are beautiful and ready for the calf.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. You can see that. And he goes the extra mile to get it right. So I'm pretty impressed.
I think the fresh eyes is what I bring to it. I think I have a good eye for design. Technically, you know, engineering-wise, I don't know that it can't be done. So I think that probably helps.
Let's check this out.
With the calf now rolling and the frame in perfect alignment, it's time to fit Evan for the footplates. But that may be easier said than done.
Looks like the tacks came off. Yeah, I don't want to deliver the bike to Evan and have him look at it and sit on it with those pipes broken and dangling. So we're going to go over to Dr. John's and he's going to tack it up for me again. Jim and John are saving the day. To the rescue.
Fortunately, Dr. John and his brother Jim are available to tack the pipes back up and get the calf back on the road to Evan.
I'm telling you, Larry, that hot glue gun just
Isn't working, huh?
yeah, it's not doing the job.
Not doing the job. I can't thank you enough. I'm not going to give you any money, but I can't thank you. I'm just kidding. Oh, man.
This is Evan's first look at the calf, and he's obviously concerned about the progress, or lack thereof.
So what are you thinking?
Still got a long ways to go. A lot of work to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of work. Oh, it sits great. I tell you, Evan, that really looks good. So it sits right up in your face.
Yeah, nice.
There has to be a cable-operated brake through the handlebar, but it's got to go to hydraulic cylinder back to cable, so I'm working on that now. I mean, wouldn't you rather have a single-finger pull, stop you on a dime, than grabbing everything you got to make it work? I don't want you to be uncomfortable, but remember, it is a cafe style, so we're going to have a little bit of that forward lean look.
I know Larry, Evan. Once he gets done with the percolating stage, it's non-stop.
He's got a lot to do. He seems to have a handle on it. So hopefully next time I see it, it's a completed motorcycle.
I think it went really well. He sees that there's a lot of work to do, but it's going to go really quickly from here.
I don't think artists would ever finish anything if there wasn't a deadline.
After many months of overcoming custom design challenges and vendor issues, the calf can be dry assembled and shown to Brian Bell in preparation for the final reveal to Evan. And the handcrafted tins have finally arrived, but not from Scotland as planned. Thankfully, craftsman Evan Wilcox was able to step in and save the day, and the march towards the finish line continues.
So what do you think? I'll put some mountings here for the cables. I'm going to use a hydraulic cylinder with it. Yeah, I raised the front of the motor 1 inch. This has been raised from here to here on either side. These are going to be black. And they may have a band on them. Plate, and then I'm going to have it drop down and attached to the engine. Yeah, K12 RS motor and 6-speed gearbox. It's a pretty menacing rear end, especially when it's finished. It'd be very menacing. That's where we're at right now. Now, what I was thinking, I don't know how you feel about this, but I was wondering, would it be a good idea to unveil this to your dad? Is he going to the Quail this year?
Yeah, it hadn't been mentioned, but
Could we do
sure,
that?
some rational. It could be.
I'm going to have it done before then. Of course, you'll see it finished before he will. But for the most part, it's there.
So judging by the looks on Brian's face, I'm not so sure that he's convinced.
I'm helping out a friend because I believe that people have dreams, and I've watched Larry in this dream ever since I moved in next door to him. And it's an amazing thing to watch somebody realize their life's dream.
It's the eve of the big reveal at Quail, and Larry is struggling through final assembly. This is when you wonder if it's all worth it.
Deadlines seem to throw Larry in overdrive because he's just obsessed with this final project.
On two very, very delicate 30-gauge wire looms. That always happens. I really do. Where would I put that thing? See, that's the problem. I'm trying to work on so many fronts at once. I don't. It's, you know. But once I find it, I'm okay. I'll focus enough. I'll be able to do it. It's just remember where I set it down. That's probably not right. It's misconnected. Okay, so that's not working either. So I'm not sure I've got this thing pegged right. I think it's one.
One. You got it.
You got it?
You got it.
Ow. And there's neutral. Right there. Check it out.
Nice.
See it? Tomorrow, I think, because they told me I'm going to have to say something on the podium, I'm going to take Carol up and I'm just going to thank everybody. That's all I can really do. And it's just not about, it's about everybody, you know.
Blue to brown.
Brown,
black to black, brown.
Yeah, that's got it.
In these final moments, each little victory feels like a huge leap toward the finish line. Progress is slow but steady. Yet with every step forward, there seems to be another obstacle standing in the way.
I'm sorry, but it's not sparking. It's sparking, but it's not cranking. So it's starting. Give me a second. Stop the camera, please. That's frustrating to me now.
The journey to the calf was a very long and sometimes torturous path.
The calf is finally on its way, running or not, and the drive up to Carmel is turning exhaustion into hope. Beautiful vistas and the California coast have a way of doing that. The Quail Motorcycle Gathering is a prestigious event celebrating the evolution of the motorcycle. Unveiling the calf here will bring this long journey to a satisfying conclusion.
Today is the day, I think. And keeping me in the dark. I haven't seen it or pictures. They've been keeping me. So this was going to be a surprise.
It's been a long road, but the moment of truth has arrived. Will Evan's expectations be met? Will the calf even roll onto the podium under its own power?
All the tension, all the frustration, everything just melted away because it did everything I wanted it to do, and more than I could possibly have imagined.
It's a beautiful bike. It's a pleasure. Congratulations. It's beautiful. So.
And then riding it up and pulling it up to the podium and stopping it and revving the engine, oh, that was just... Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm relieved.
It's been a long road, and I know Larry has worked very, very hard on this project, and I appreciate the labor that went into it.
The bike was sitting there on the golf course in the grass, and it was the first time that we were looking at it from a distance.
Yeah.
All these months and months and months, we'd been this close to the bike.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you know, you're seeing it at a distance now. I was so amazed at how beautiful it was.
You know, even though I was incredibly fatigued, I hadn't slept for days, and I was completely wasted. It's like taking a victory lap, I guess. It's the closest thing I can think of it to being. Woohoo!
It's a job well done, surpassing everyone's expectations. But it's never really over until you've heard from your friends.
Larry said, "Guess who called me today?" And I said, "Get out of here!" And it was very kind of surreal at first, wasn't it?
It was.
Jay Leno has no shortage of gorgeous, one-of-a-kind vehicles in his massive collection. As a fan of Larry's builds, Jay's invited the Romestants over to his Big Dog garage to see just how the calf stacks up.
Well, the interesting thing about this motorcycle is I met the bike before I met the owner. I saw it parked, I think it was a Supercar Sunday event. It's one of these parking lot events where people show up with cars and motorcycles and just hang out for a couple hours on a Sunday morning. And I was sort of mesmerized by it, and I walked around it a couple of times. Is the owner around here? I know where he is. And I walked away, and I come back about 10 minutes. Did the owner come back yet? And I just wanted to hang. I wanted to meet the guy that did this bike, and he and his wife Carol, they kind of run this business. Larry, Carol, come on in, you guys. How are you? Good to see you. Now look, you've done some changes to this bike since the last time I saw it. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while. The radiator's different, correct?
Right. I had a 16-pound brass radiator on there, first edition radiator. Now I've got finally got a nice aluminum powder-coated, custom-made tank. It's wider, cools better,
right,
and it's 3 pounds. Other than that, that's basically all I've really. That's the changes, and I got it dirty.
But you know what you need to tell him is about the front brake.
Right. I've been tweaking the front brake because you can only get so much out of that thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I did improve the line.
Because it's more important to look good than to stop properly. If the bike falls on, that's what. You throw yourself under the bike to save yourself, to save the bike, right?
Yeah.
Well, of course, it makes perfect sense. Because you can get another husband. This is going to cost you a fortune to reproduce it.
Right.
You know, there's plenty of engineers out there. It's just not only one of these. So yeah. So you have to use guy logic. And what was that brake off of originally?
Water Buffalo.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very cool. Because it looks Italian.
Yeah, it does have an Italian look.
Yeah.
But what happens with Larry is because he wanted to use that, he had to do this.
Yeah, so I had to make that from scratch.
Oh, okay. The whole hub.
Now he's working on his own brake.
Okay.
So one thing usually leads to another with
Right. But see, as an engineer, this eventually turns into the more brains than money club. See, I'm in the more money than brains club. That's why I have a lot. But you have more brains than money club.
Well,
you wind up with a bike that is, you put so much into it, so much time and effort. It's almost priceless, isn't it?
Sure.
Consider the time and the effort. I mean, even paying yourself $2 an hour. It's pretty crazy generous, how much is in this bike. Yeah.
That's pretty much what we did.
Carpy is a cafe racer legend and is always up for having some fun at his old pal's expense.
What the hell? Yeah, it's the Bavarian thing from where you know where, man.
That's awesome, dude. I heard something up there, but I thought it was a tractor.
Oh, shut up.
Good to see you, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Finally,
man.
Finally, mate. That's a lot of hard work there.
I think the reason they call me the cafe guy is I came here on the shores of Blighty in 2000, and I was restoring travel trailers, to be honest. But I only just got here and I couldn't afford a car. I thought I'll build a bike like a cafe to get around on. So I built a bike. People kept pointing and go, "What sort of bike's that?" And so it's a cafe racer.
Love the GT Suzuki front brake. We talked about years and years ago. There's a lot of time involved in that.
It's lightened a little bit. It's running Ferodo pads, Ferodo shoes on it.
Right.
And it's worked through a mechanism that goes from cable to hydraulic back to cable, so you get the mechanical effort, lever effort of a hydraulic, but you're pulling in those big nasty cables.
Well, the good thing about that, Larry, I think, is because of your old age, you know what I mean? You can't pull it in. I don't mind with a cable.
Yeah. I can say the same thing about you.
Yeah, well, we're not that far apart, to be honest.
No.
You're as young as a woman you feel, so they say. And she's in her 40s, so I'm doing great.
But no, awesome. I love it. Everything with the levers remind me of the old Sunbeam motorcycles. But yeah, I love everything about it. Looks cool. How many miles you done on it?
About 3,000.
About 3,000, so that's up and down Britain about 4 times. This has got more parts than a jukebox, I can't believe it. So a little different than yours, but similar guys, you know what I mean? Clip-ons and everything. It has cafe racers are cafe racers. I still do a lot of Hondas, but obviously from where I'm from, Triumph is obviously from Great Britain, and I wanted to work with the newer Thruxtons. So this has a lot going on, as you can see, but it's my business card bike. So little things like on a stock Triumph, I have a bigger seat, so I've tapered the seat. But there's all this cowl in here that they don't use. Yeah. So I made my own cowl, so it flips down and I can put my white scarf and gloves and everything in it. I never did that, so I thought that's kind of cool. The other thing I wanted to do, and you'll probably relate to that, back in the day, carbureted bikes, especially two-strokes, had ram air systems.
Sure.
So I made my own side covers, put the vents in, took the airbox off, put a pod filter on, so it's forced induction.
That's good.
But these are fuel injected anyway. These are just a monoblock cover over the top. So that's kind of cool. And then, because it kind of gives it that retro look.
Can you, do you hear them? Do you hear the intake at all?
Not really, because I make these exhausts and headers, and they're pretty loud. But it has the aesthetics of back in the day of racing when I was a kid and two-strokes.
The easiest job back then was to be a motorcycle dispatch rider. And the time I'd done it, I got to see all part of London I never thought I'd see. Then I started going further afield and got to France, Germany, Austria. I go to Switzerland and come all the way back on a motorcycle. Every time I'd done stuff, I made the bike a little faster or tighter in and out of traffic. And that's really where Cafe Racers for me has come from.
Yeah, so a new bike but looks old, but yours is an older bike and looks newer. Yeah. So it's kind of a cool little combination. There's my little abode. As I say, not a big shop, but I like it. It's compact and bijou, as I say back home, and a few little bits and pieces in here.
Hey, good to see you.
Hello, sweetie. How you doing? All right?
Yeah, doing okay.
It's been quite a while, probably over a decade, I should say. Time flies. Let's go through here then. It's
Carpy's shop is a vintage paradise, filled with both classic items and new creations of his own. He's all too happy to give his old friends a look behind the scenes.
HTML?
Yeah, this is a motorcycle I'm building for a chap in San Diego. I called it Hot Tamale because he got it on the San Diego border. But he's a website designer, so HTML is for the coding for website, but also Hot Tamale. I mean, I matched the paint to the Hot Tamale candy, so that's how he wanted it. So it's kind of cool.
My dad's a Cockney, a real cool blimey governor. He's from East London. My mum's from North London, long way apart. Back in that day when people were racing from cafe to cafe, he would have gone up to North London to go up there, and that's where he met my mum on his match list. So that's how they found each other, was from cafes. My mum passed away in May, so I'm building a bike which is going to be in there. And what we're going to do is going to build it. I'm going to CAD plate the frame. It'll be an alloy tank with an alloy seat with an oil tank in it. I've got them old rare race rims, and then what we're going to do is raffle it off, and then it'll be about 20 grand, and then we'll send all the money to the charity in England.
That's nice.
You know. So,
I'm sorry to hear about your mom.
Yeah, she's only 19 years older than me, but if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here. So I want to kind of do something to kind of help her. So, and she sent me them rims maybe 12 years ago. So I'm putting them on that frame just in there. See the ones with the rotor in the background.
To do what Larry's done, that's a phenomenal job to do. Not just by looking at it, putting a modern engine in an earlier frame and making sure the aesthetics is right, and then looking at the aerodynamics and the geometry is so important on a motorcycle. Kids today will just change their handlebars, a headlight, and see, there's a cafe. No, it's not. You know, it's a bike with this on, but that's a full-built bike. That is just awesome. And people don't understand the hours and the toil and all the negatives about that didn't work to get to the stage he has. It's just a great effort he's done, and obviously shows his passion.
Yeah, I love it, man. Can't believe it's all these years and now you're here outside my shop.
Yeah, it's been crazy, huh?
Isn't that
the way
cool?
things work. I prayed and asked God to give us the inspiration, and that it would be something that people would be drawn to and not really understand why they're being drawn to it. And that's been the case.
So there you have it, the Romestant Special Ks. Who knows what's next? But for now, let's take one more ride.